Fame and fortune can do terrible things to a person, and people who become rich and famous can likewise do some terrible things. Need proof? Take a look at some of the celebs currently doing time. As a child and young teenager, Danny Masterson popped up on a number of TV shows before landing his signature and most famous role, playing sarcastic teenage delinquent Stephen Hyde on 8 seasons of Fox's hit period comedy That 70s Show. After the series ended in 2006, Masterson focused on his side career as a DJ and co-starred on the Netflix sitcom The Ranch. After 3 women filed criminal complaints against Masterson, the Los Angeles police opened an investigation in 2017. According to the allegations, between 2001 and 2003, Masterson sexually assaulted 3 women in his home in Hollywood. In June 2020, Masterson was arrested. He stood trial on charges of forcible rape in December 2022, but the trial ended without a verdict. The next trial, in May 2023, ended in a conviction for Masterson on 2 rape charges, with a hung jury on the 3rd count. Masterson was kept behind bars until his sentencing hearing in September 2023, where a judge sentenced the actor to 30 years to life in prison.
They were able to see through the evidence and come to the right decision and finding this defendant, Mr. Masterson, accountable.
Joe Son was most famous for his role in Austin Powers as villainous henchman Random Task, a parody of the James Bond movie minion Oddjob. He actually landed these roles after his involvement in a serious crime, but Son wouldn't meet justice until after he had made a name for himself in Hollywood. On Christmas Eve 1990, Son aided in the kidnapping, assault, torture, and group sexual assault of a woman. An unrelated incident in 2008 turned up DNA evidence that connected Son with those crimes, which earned the actor a life sentence with no possibility of parole. Then, shortly after beginning serving his sentence, Son beat his prison cellmate to death. A jury found Son guilty of voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to an additional 27 years. Born Paul Gadd, the British musician known as Gary Glitter was one of the biggest stars of the glam rock era, racking up 15 top 40 hits in the 70s. In the US, he's best known for the lyric-free 1972 song Rock and Roll Part 2, a jock jam played at countless sporting events over the decades. The song also popped up in the 2019 movie Joker, with Joaquin Phoenix dancing down a set of stairs in the Bronx to the tune. Gadd is also a repeatedly convicted sex offender. In 1999, he spent 4 months in prison in the UK after confessing to owning a collection of pornography depicting minors. Upon his release, he moved to Cambodia and was ordered to leave the country following allegations of criminal child abuse. He then settled in Vietnam, where in 2006, he was convicted of assaulting 2 girls. He served more than 2 years in prison. Once back in the UK, Gadd was added to a sex offenders registry, and in 2015, was convicted on crimes of a sexual nature that dated back to his 1970s rock star days. The musician reportedly assaulted 2 children backstage at a concert and attempted to assault a 3rd child in her bed. Gadd was sentenced to 16 years in prison. Paroled in February 2023 after serving 8 years, authorities reincarcerated Gadd a month later due to a parole violation. From 2011 to 2014, the Discovery Channel scored a reality TV hit with Sons of Guns, tracking the day-to-day activities of Red Jacket, a weapons store in Louisiana, and the family who ran it. Shop owner William Hayden was front and center for most of the series' episodes. Right around the time that Sons of Guns wrapped up its run in 2014, Hayden was arrested for multiple sexual assaults on a minor. The accuser testified that in 2013 and 2014, Hayden raped her several times in his truck and at his home. During the trial, another woman came forward and took the stand to recount Hayden's 2 sexual assaults in the early 1990s, when she was 12 and 13 years old. Hayden faced another charge when his daughter accused him of sexual assault. For all of those sex crimes committed against minors, Hayden was found guilty in 2017 of forcible and aggravated rape and sentenced to 2 simultaneous life sentences and an additional 40 years. In another proceeding later in 2017, a judge handed down a 3rd life sentence. Defensive back Darren Sharper played in the NFL for 14 seasons with the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, and New Orleans Saints. During that span, he led the league in interception return yards 3 times and interceptions twice, earning him 5 Pro Bowl selections. a spot on the NFL's All-2000s team, and a Super Bowl ring.
The things that I've done in the past has been able to help teams win.
Not long after he retired and took a job as an analyst with the NFL Network, allegations began to surface about numerous crimes he'd committed. In February 2014, New Orleans police arrested Sharper and another individual on charges of sexually assaulting 2 women in New Orleans the previous year. At the time, the ex-football star was also the subject of investigation in similar cases in Florida, Nevada, Arizona, and California. Investigations revealed that Sharper had reportedly drugged the women prior to the assaults. In August 2016, a U.S. District Court in New Orleans sentenced Sharper to an 18-year and 4-month prison term, plus 3 years of supervised release upon his parole. 3 months later, a court in Los Angeles issued Sharper a 20-year sentence, to be served concurrently with the previous punishment. Under the name Sunny, Tammy Sytch was a top manager and valet in WWE in the 1990s. Among other accomplishments, she managed the fitness-obsessed duo known as the Body Donnas to a tag team title win at WrestleMania 12. In March 2022, Sytch was arrested after crashing her vehicle into a car stopped at an intersection just outside Daytona Beach, in Ormond Beach, Florida. The individual in that car, 75-year-old Julian Lassiter, died from injuries suffered from the impact. A sobriety test indicated that Sytch's blood alcohol level at the time of the accident was more than 3 times Florida's legal limit. A court disallowed Sytch's bond payment because the former wrestler had been arrested multiple times in 2022 already for public intoxication and for violation of a restraining order relating to a domestic violence charge. In August 2023, she entered a no-contest plea and faces a prison term of about 25 years if convicted. Of the dozens of women who have appeared on one of Bravo's Real Housewives reality shows, Shah of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is among the most memorable, because her money-making endeavors landed her in prison. In 2021, Shah and her assistant, Stuart Smith, were indicted by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York on charges of money laundering and wire fraud. From 2012 to 2021, Shah and Smith ran telemarketing operations that sold income-generating products and services that didn't exist in order to purposely defraud elderly consumers.
I invested more than half of the savings I had for retirement.
After initially entering a not guilty plea on counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering, the latter charge was dropped. Shah agreed to a plea deal in 2022 and admitted to the wire fraud charge. In January 2023, Shah received a 6.5-year prison sentence. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE, 1-800-656-4673.